Jane Eyre is comforted by nature in the novel and in the film versions. The hills are where she loses herself, much like the poets of the Romantic period who use nature as a place to think and reflect. However, the vast and wild land can at times physically overpower Jane. She realizes that she cannot live on the moors forever because it's just not practical. As we observe Jane's emotional pain and the fragility of her humanity, we are asked to identify with her heartbreak. The moors are wild because they are vast and empty and full of eerie possibility. Victorian society spent a great deal of energy trying to tame nature and own it. As a result, friction was created between people in touch with their inner wildness, like Jane, and those who thrived on the strict social structure of Victorian society, like Mrs. Reed. The Victorian way of life stifles Jane in her vitality. I took these photos with the intent of photographing wide open spaces to try and reimagine the sense of freedom Jane must have felt while she was on the moors. What I ended up finding instead were photos that represented the space between nature unaltered by man and nature that had been tamed. I didn't even notice some of the details of these photos, like the construction sites in the background, until afterwards. The juxtaposition between the wild trees and the vast acres of manicured land and the houses that sit upon them was really striking. When Jane Eyre abandons Thornfield and Mr. Rochester, she embroils herself in the untamed wilderness of the moors. Passing through the wildness of nature is part of the journey Jane takes to find her true sense of place. Jane finds a kindred spirit in Mr. Rochester because he too has an inner wildness in him. At the end of the story, Jane finds her place in society with his help, and their union forms a renewed sense of place for each of them in both wilderness and society.